It's been the land. Someone who always can. Don't you know? Burrito.
Right, that is right. Welcome to the Treehouse for another edition of Wassup Flobo After Hours. We're just sitting and chatting and talking about what's going on in the world today and this week. My name is Flobo Boyce, and you know the deals. If you're not subscribed already on YouTube, on Facebook, and definitely that Twitch, make sure you do, man. That way you can see more and more content. But I'm not alone. This individual is a comedian, a funny person, pundit, lover of soaps, fantastic woman of leisure. Give it up for the Lacretia Lyon. How you doing?
All right. Well, I feel like I have to raise a glass to the fantastic woman of leisure because that's actually the coolest thing I've ever been called. I usually go down the line of Steve Miller's The Joker, like Midnight Toker, yes, Space Cowboy, totally. But, woman of leisure. I like that.
Yeah, it's the old way of saying you did like a bunch of things almost mysteriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how am I just noticing that big DC poster behind you is the one from Hobby Lobby I really want, but it didn't have John Constantine on it, so I was a little like, he's my favorite. But I love it.
I got that one from Ross, and it has
really?
the heights of everyone. And you can tell there's some heroes that try to stretch to be 6 feet. Like, you know?
Yeah.
The rest are like 5'10" or whatever, and there's a dark side in the middle. Thank you. No one's ever actually mentioned that. Thank you so much. You know? What's going on with you, man? I mean, I know I saw you on all these different shows. You're like doing these podcasts, LJ Media, soaps. Like, what does a content play look like for you these days?
Yeah, it's funny. Years ago, when I started, hosting, I did a sports comedy channel, Sports Without the Balls, on YouTube. And it was a double joke because I'm a big hockey fan. Go Stars. We made it all the way to the Stanley Cup, and no one thought we would go
Are you
anywhere.
from Dallas, by the way?
I'm from Tyler originally.
Okay,
I did live in Dallas for a while. Yeah, Tyler's about 100 miles east of Dallas. But that's where I grew up, and that's actually where I am now because I'm still waiting to move into my place in LA again November 1st. So it's taken a lot longer, but to be honest, I think I'm better off here in a lot of ways.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much later, man. Thank you for staying up. Because at my age, once 9:30 rolls around, I'm like, when's the show?
Oh, Woo. Trust me, dude. I had to take a nap earlier. I'm such an old lady. I would normally be asleep by now. But yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'll smoke sativa and stay up.
Since you're an average user, do you have a favorite strain? I gotta ask. This is a late night talk show. We're all adults here. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah. That's what I loved was it was after hours, so I could be a little bit more honest. But yeah, it is one of those things that I'm a pothead. Yes, my name is Lacretia, and I'm a pothead. But it's funny. We all have those like fantasy strains that we've had like maybe once or twice that are our favorites. Definitely for me, cherry pie. That's why I really want to try Jim Belushi's cherry pie and see if it's the same. And then I think of the Warrant song.
Wait, Jim Belushi has his own line of pot?
Yeah. Okay. You didn't know that? Yeah, he even has a reality show about like his pot farm. Sorry, I go to a lot of cannabis events, so I've seen Jim Belushi at many of them. But yeah, his cherry pie I really want to try. Or there was this, when The Force Awakens came out, there was a strain called The Force Awakens. I used to get from Greenlee, shout out if they're still in business, a delivery service on the west side of LA. But like it was amazing. And I don't think I've ever been able to find something that great. But here in a place where it's not legal, I may have mentioned it earlier, but let's forget about that. I support small business. And right now I've got LA Confidential.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So I've heard. I don't usually partake in the cannabis arts. I've dabbled. I mean, it's legal here in California. Dream Girl was like the one I really particularly like care for, but I'm not like an advocate as he is, and that way I catch him on this episode. But it's cool. So what did you go out to Texas for the pandemic, or because of the pandemic, or you were just chilling out, seeing family, or?
Yeah, so basically, and that'll go into what I was saying earlier. I was sort of here in already, and I was getting ready to go back, and it was
Yeah.
just such a strange thing. I literally got stuck in Vegas on the plane the week it happened, because I'd been in San Diego the week before, but I had to come back and do some stuff, and was headed out there just to go back in March and get stuck in Vegas and have to come
Right.
back. And thank God I didn't stay there, because all that rent you'd have to pay and no work and just all the crazy stuff people have been dealing with. Well, I'm sleeping. Luckily, my mom's got a bed for me. I mean,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I did get to spend a lot of time with family, which I didn't always get to, because I was the only one out in LA. And I was able to be here to help my grandparents move this past weekend to Fort Worth from Tyler. So yeah, and be here for them in this time, because yeah, it's crazy. Even they're like, we've never even seen anything like this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how do you describe what you do to people at parties? Because you do a lot. I mean, you have like 9 different slashes. Now I knew you from the comedy world. I've tried. For those of you who don't know, there's a time where I thought I would be the biggest comedy producer this side of whoever, and I had a show at Flappers. And I tried for months to book the Lacretia Lyon, but she would never be able to do my shows. But now, how would you describe what you do? Are you still a comedy first? Are you a writer now? Are you a host? Like what's the mix?
Yeah, so like I said, I started out sort of, I moved to LA for comedy. I did a lot of comedy, but I've never been much of a stand-up, I guess, because I'm a little lazy, and all the standing up and the memorizing. I'm more
Yeah.
of, and when I was starting out, podcasting wasn't really the thing, but I always knew, what I want to do is I want to host The Soup. I loved that show. Greg Kinnear, Aisha Tyler, Joel McHale, all the people that
Yeah.
came through there. I loved that. Or I loved, ironically, The Man Show with Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel. Shows like that. And I was like, that's what I want to do. How do I do that? And that this hosting agent, Marky Costello, had found me and was like, hey, there's classes for that. And I'm just like, really? I didn't even know what it was called. I moved here for comedy, and found me on Twitter of all things. But yeah, I'm certainly more of a Twitter comedian, so the pandemic's not really affected me that much as far as wanting to get on stage. I hate getting on stage, I'll be honest. Like, unless I remember there was one time I did a show, and it was my favorite show because there was a couch there, and I just sat down and did my whole set, and I was like enjoying it. So I could definitely be a sit-down comedian.
Wow.
But yeah, to me, podcasting is funny, even if you're podcasting about the soap, since no matter, if I leave or come back, they always love me, just like an actor there, I guess, with the soap podcast. But, I've just been doing a lot of, even though I get out of the nerd realm, I do a supernatural podcast, or I do a Smallville podcast, and
You
just
mean
when
the
I think
TV
I'm
show
out,
Supernatural?
they bring me back.
Like,
And yeah. Oh, yeah.
so that
Or
shows
I
the-
would do people's supernatural podcasts in the real world too.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that show was on for like what, 16 years, 15 years, I think.
Yeah. So this would be the 15th season, which would have ended back in March, I think, March or April. It would have ended, but they ran out of episodes and weren't finished. And being as it's the last season of a show that's been on 15, they had to go back just this last month and finish it up. And we're gonna get the latest tomorrow. So
Is it going to be like a full episode, like a movie? How are they going to end it?
so they have
a
they have a couple episodes, and so I mean that's how they're going to end it, with kind of, I guess, the plan that they had before COVID. But yeah, it's just crazy to me to think about that show, because it's almost like a soap. It's been on so long, and Jensen was on Days of Our Lives, but yeah, it's kind of nice, because that's one of the pluses, I guess, that I think we're going to get more, and we're going to get a better ending because of this.
True. And also, you are the fan of the soaps. We were talking about this before the show, because I have very, very, very small experience with soaps. Those who listen to the show know I'm really dabbled with it. But like, you become like, you can put like soap commentary in Google, and a video of yours will come up like on page 2. What is there? Like, how'd you get into like the hosting specifically for that soap and that whole community? Like, how's that work?
Yeah. So again, I was at that hosting place. I guess it would be a hosting school. Just school is such a weird word to use these days, I guess. But yeah. So I was there, and they were talking about this place after Buzz TV. And I'm someone who, surprisingly, I've always loved TV, as you saw. I just did a big soliloquy on, TV and how much I love it. But I was always a very loyal soap watcher. Both of my parents in different houses watched it. different family members. So it was always a constant in my life. The ABC soap specifically. You got All My Children, One Life to Live at General Hospital. General Hospital is the only one still on, sadly, on ABC. But then, once the others went away, I was able to watch like The Young and the Restless. I kind of picked up. And now Days of Our Lives and The Bold and Beautiful, thanks to no other TV being on for so long.
Right.
But yeah, like with General Hospital specifically, I went to this place called After Buzz TV when they were talking about in this class, oh, this is a good place to get some real footage and do some stuff for your hosting. And it's all about TV. And I'm like, oh, I love TV. I'm great. This will be perfect for me. I don't get in because they don't have space. They don't know. I mean, I think I, of course, put all the superhero shows because they don't have any soap opera content. They don't care about soap operas. Nobody really watches that, right? I mean, I've seen the internet message boards and things like that, but who would really watch this show? But I pitch it anyway. I'm like, well, yeah, I get there wasn't anything available on these. Can I do this show? No, we don't do soaps. Year later, they start doing Audition Days, the Days of Our Lives one, thanks to Tony Moore. And then I'm like, oh, well, now they do. This will be interesting to see if this goes anywhere. And then I see a posting on Craigslist, maybe 6 months down the line with the Days one, looking for General Hospital superfans. And I don't know it's AfterBuzz. I don't know if it's something I've already pitched. And then I meet, as you mentioned, James Lott Jr. I meet him at Kitchen 24 after I've had a horrible food poisoning. So, it's not an ideal situation at all. But he likes my gumption, I guess, for coming anyway and just trying to make it through. And in a restaurant of all places, like, just no, thank you. I'm not hungry. But yeah, and I'm like, what's interesting to me? Who is this with? Oh, AfterBuzz TV. Huh, I pitched this like a year ago. Oh, really? Then we have to have you on. So I had to kind of come in the back door, and then ever since then, like I say, I took a break from the soaps, never watching. I've always watched General Hospital since when they killed Emily and Georgie. I was very angry. but yeah, it's one of those that I kept watching, and then it sort of came back around with the Believe in Soaps. Because again, I tried to pitch a sports comedy show because that's kind of what I've always wanted to do, because I'm from Texas, so you have to laugh at sports.
Yeah, Friday Night Lights.
Right. Yeah, and the Cowboy game.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, we're an embarrassment. It's okay. And the Stars typically are an embarrassment, our hockey team. But we did make it. This year, we did it. We didn't win. But you know what? The fact that we even made it with all we had against us, that's something. But yeah, so I switched sports comedy. Yeah. And they were like, no, we're looking for more niche-based, like pop culture, like something that you don't expect people. I'm like, soap operas?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. You know what? We've had Maurice Bernard, Sonny Corinthos on another podcast. We can get him on here. And I'm like, yeah. So that's it. Everything comes back around. It's full circle.
This is probably kind of heavy for, I guess, midnight local time. But what is the dream for Ms. Lyon? Like, what does Lacretia want to do? She's like, look, man, I just came on your show to talk about this.
I know. It is funny because the dream career used to be to like host something like The Soup or be a host of some sort of like comedy variety thing. And I think that's still it. But yeah, I've been doing this podcast soap opera, not a podcast about soap operas. It's mine. I've been acting a little bit in doing voiceover, and I would like to do more of that, whether it's just still in the voiceover realm or in the comedy acting, because, drama is funny to me too. So yeah, it's one of those that I think I would like to do more of that.
Shout out to Haywood Wong who's trying to translate this for me. He's like, Flo, think of Maurice Bernard as / Sonny as Seth Messiah Rollins. Oh, so he's a jerk. Why don't you say so, Lacretia? He's so self-centered. He's all about himself.
Sonny reminded me of my own father. I had a love-hate relationship with him for years until I really talked to Maurice, and I'm like, okay, I like you, but I'm still gonna bitch about Sonny. Like, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah. I got needs, all right? I gotta make things make more sense. That's awesome that you're able to like find a niche, and it may not even
Yeah.
be like the dream, but it's kind of the thing
Yeah.
you're building on or whatever. But yeah, for me, man, I always ask that question: what is the dream? But it always changes. I came out to California to
Yeah.
be an editor, a film editor, and that became writer. That became comedian. Now I do shows from my bedroom. Like it's just kind of what I do. You know what I mean? Like, what is the
Yeah,
dream?
I
That's
went to
kind of a deep
college to
question.
be a music video director. So like, and then
Oh
YouTube
yeah.
really hit big and destroyed that. So
Oh,
yeah,
where'd you go?
yeah. I went
Where'd you
to the
go?
University of North Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually Peter Weller, RoboCop. He went there. So there's a lot of other famous alumni like Thomas Hayden Church, Sandman, and Dr. Phil, Nora Jones. John Henley. It's a big music school, but they have like a film program. But yeah, I was really interested in directing, kind of like Spike Jonze or Michelle Gondry. They got their start, or even David Fincher in the music video realm, and I always thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's where I say you never know where that's going to lead you.
Did you get the degree in music directing?
No, I wound up getting a psychology degree, the Dr. Phil of the school. So that's crazy. But
Okay, so here's a question for you. What was your first job out of college?
my first job out of college, I will say that wasn't at the college because basically they'd created a UNT Dallas, and I was living in uptown Dallas, the bar district there, and I was
Okay.
working as a writing tutor in the inner city part of the college, which was pretty disheartening. But I would say the first job outside of that was at Equinox, the fancy fitness clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personal trainer Lacretia. I love that.
No, it's funny. I actually have a master's degree in sports psychology and kinesiology because I was going to, be a sports psychologist. We changed so many times in our 20s. That's why I don't understand why people get married then. But yeah, it's like be a sports psychologist for hockey teams and did a lot of research. I actually did a lot of pre-concussion, the big, story about NFL helmets and put some stuff about that long before they decided to change those rules. But thank God they have. But it's interesting to me to see how all that comes about. But yeah, and that's sort of where I went when working at Equinox because I was going to go to law school at SMU. But Mark Cuban's brother, Brian Cuban, talked me out of it because he was a lawyer, and they all went to
Oh.
Equinox, of course. So we got to talking, and he's like, "It's the worst job you'll ever have. Do you know how many ex-lawyers do everything else?" Like, I'm like, that's all I ever hear.
It's true. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge sign. Hayward Wong gets in there. He goes, "Ooh, Flo, how about this one? Since Lucretia did Legends of Tomorrow, you, Frank, and her do this year's episode
Okay.
recap on your channel." Yeah, you know what? That'd be kind of fun. That's the thing about AfterBuzz, man. If you
Yeah.
guys don't know, all of us, the guys that are on the show, Frank Moran or James Lott Jr., we all were on AfterBuzz at some point in time, and it's on hiatus, quote unquote. But so many different shows are not getting covered, and there's like literally hundreds of shows that with like no presence online because they're not there. I don't know. Is there a show in your mind that you would love to bring back if you had a chance to like after show it?
It shows that are currently on that I would want to do the after show for. I would say definitely The Boys. I almost thought about doing a podcast myself. That's my favorite show. And Eric Kripke, who does The Boys, also did Supernatural. He was the original creator of the show. So yeah, I would like to recap Supernatural, but definitely I would say Legends because that's really the only DC show left for me to watch. I do enjoy
Really?
Black Lightning, but I'm not caught up. But The Flash really just lost me this last year. And Supergirl, I was done. I really want to go back and watch a lot of the Lex Luthor stuff because I enjoyed him in the crossover. Thought John Cryer was great. But Supergirl lost me a long time ago. Once Terry Hatcher died, so did that show. It was,
Wait a
yeah.
minute. Yeah, Supergirl. Arrow does it sometimes too, but Supergirl's biggest
Oh, I
problem is
loved
that
Arrow. It had some dark points, but it was great.
yeah, but like the same thing. The thing that
Yeah.
they have this story with this giant story, and they'll try to solve it in 40 minutes. You're like, wait, you just can't cure racism? What?
And that was the thing is Supergirl got to where it was like beating you over the head with the SJW stuff, and it was one of those. It's like we get it, but this is not good writing. This was the headline this week.
Yeah.
That's for SVU, and we enjoy it. I mean,
No, I hear you. I totally get it. I think I said this one time when Oliver was the mayor and they had like a gun control episode, and I was like,
Sorry.
fine, you get one, but like it was every week at Supergirl. I wasn't a fan, and Legends was good, but you have to almost treat it as like a separate thing because they never cross over in their own bubble or whatnot. But
although when Legends does cross over, it's the best because, of course, in Crisis they had to, and I really like that Sarah and Ray were really utilized because they've been there since pretty well the beginning, and they're such great characters, and I like that Brandon has moved on. Although we definitely miss Ray's positivity in the Legends of Tomorrow because that was what was unique about him, and I like that we got to see Brandon play Superman again. But but the Lucifer part with Constantine, I was just like, thank God, because that those shows are loosely related, as Lucifer was in the comic book realm as Constantine, and I had always joked with Joe Henderson about like, I will give you some crossover like ideas. I will write this, like make something happen with Lucifer and Constantine, and he made it. He did it.
Just slipping 20s across the nation. I love it. No, I remember when Constantine first came out, I would make an appointment viewing. It was like Friday nights on NBC. I was like, I gotta watch Constantine, and I guess no one else did. But I'm so glad they found a way.
Oh, we did. Like, it's funny because a lot of this is like seems like such a humble brag, but it's not. Like, it is a brag. But I remember when Constantine was canceled and he came on to Arrow after, and that was when I was at AfterBuzz and we were doing the Legends of Tomorrow. And God, Sarah Nicole Jones was in there, and I kept talking about how Constantine would be perfect for Legends. Just, we got to have this character back. There's already precedent. They already got Matt Ryan over there, and she was one of the people who helped write that episode. So she knew a little bit more, and she's like, just keep talking about it, and it can happen. Like, we're working on it. And I'd interviewed Matt at the premiere of Justice League Dark, where they were keeping him as Constantine, and they were doing the cartoon. And it was like, if I just keep talking about it, it'll happen. And it did. So, you can make waves. And I love seeing Matt as Constantine because the show was canceled prematurely. And it does look like J.J. Abrams is going to be working on a Zatanna and a Constantine series for HBO Max, which is great. But I do hope we either keep Matt in the role or we do find someone that, may fit as well. Because I'm interested to see other interpretations. I love the character. I love the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
I do too.
It's my favorite character. I've talked on many podcasts about. But it's just really cool to see when you can do stuff like that. Because same thing with Lucifer coming back. I tried to help with that campaign, and we've got it. Now we are going to have 6 seasons. So I love my Vertigo comics.
Shout out to Vertigo. And I kind of hope that they didn't do this with Zatanna show, they add some Zatara stuff too, because he was important for a bit as well. There's a bit of a debate going in the chat right now. What's your opinion on this one? Best person to portray Lex Luthor, you think, in your opinion?
I'm always going to be partial to Michael Rosenbaum. As much as I didn't enjoy Smallville overall, he and... It's so, like, it's a ridiculous show. It's very soapy. Like, the first 2 seasons are pretty good. But, to me, Lex and Lionel are by far the best part. Him and John Glover, their chemistry, that is Lex Luthor. Although, I mean, you can't argue with Gene Hackman was great. And I'm trying to think of a bad Lex Luthor. There's not a bad one, but I'll always be partial to Michael.
People always say either Kevin Spacey was flat or Jesse Eisenberg was too Mark Zuckerberg. Those are usually the ones they...
But that interpretation Jesse Eisenberg had, to me, fit what Lex Luthor would be in our time. And that's why I didn't mind it. To me, the interpretation fit with the now. And I loved Kevin Spacey. I'm a very big Superman Returns defender. As I say, I was super excited to see Brandon back in the super suit for Crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really hate Superman Returns. I felt like there could have been one more set piece. That was my biggest thing. I was like, this one more accuracy would have been great. It was like too far between, I guess. But I didn't mind it at all. And I know it's kind of weird to say, but Kevin Spacey, wherever you think of him on the outside of it, is
he's a good actor. Yeah.
Fantastic actor.
Well, I mean, you have Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey involved in that movie, and I'm still just like, you know what? It was a good movie. I feel like it gets undue hate. It's way better than Man of Steel. Shots fired, but...
What? There's two superhero movies. We're going to cross over universes here. There's two superhero movies that don't get a lot of love. Like there's some, the ones I like flaws and all. Like Green Lantern movie, I know isn't good, but I like it. Jonah Hex is absolutely terrible, but it's cool to drink to.
But
like,
Jonah Hex is funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. There's two that like get hate and I'll defend, and that's Man of Steel and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Those two get trashed all the time, but I like them.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 is better than 1. I mean, I'll at least give it that because they do. I mean, I really like Dennis Leary, and that was really the only parts I was interested in. Same thing with Man of Steel with Christopher Maloney. I'm like, Maloney is one of my favorite actors, so I just call Man of Steel the movie where Christopher Maloney saves the day, right?
He was like in 10 minutes. What do you?
Yeah, he's at the end saying, "Oh, Surviving Jack." Yes, I love that short-lived show.
Deep cut right there for those who know this. Do you have like a movie like that where you're just like, oh man, everyone hates this one? But
for sure, Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is a great film if you watch it as a comedy because that scene with James Franco eating the peach cobbler, like. Franco should have won an Oscar for that. It's so damn funny. Like, my brother and I have watched that scene good over 1,000 times because it makes no sense in the film. It's good. Like,
wow. As watch it as a comedy.
So, yeah. And like Topher Grace is Eddie Brock. We're big That 70s Show fans of Topher Grace. So we love that interpretation because we almost knew I'm the biggest Sam Raimi apologist ever. Because they wanted him to do Venom, and they wanted him to do Venom, and he didn't want to. He set up Lizard through the whole thing, and then they were like, nope, you got to do Venom. So he's like, well, F that. I'm not giving you your Venom. I'm giving you my Venom. So I enjoyed the little FU to the studio that was Topher Grace. And to me, Topher Grace would have been a better Peter Parker from the long run. I'm not a hater of Tobey Maguire like most people, but I did enjoy, him in the role, but I think Topher would have been a better fit, but we might not have got as much That 70s Show, so okay.
Do most people hate Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man? I had no idea.
Well, sadly, I used to think not, but I've gotten a lot of feedback that most people did not like that. I'm like, well, I don't get that, because to me, he fits. I mean, Tom Holland's probably the best, but yeah, to me, Tobey Maguire made more sense than Andrew Garfield. Because of who we think Peter Parker is. That's why I think Topher Grace is great, because Eric Foreman is Peter Parker.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You're
like, okay. Yeah.
I was like, wait, him in the 70s bell
70s Show, yeah.
The
nerdy guy. Like when he beats up, I've seen every episode of That 70s Show 1,000 times too. So I'm like, yeah, when Eric beats up the guy at the Packers game in front of his dad and Red's so proud of him, he's like, where'd you learn to fight like that? It's like, Spider-Man.
Fair enough, yeah. I thought that, like Haywood Wong and Chat also said that Andrew Garfield gets the most hate. I feel like there's two camps. Tom Holland camp and the Topher Grace, jeez. Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire camp. And everyone's just like, whatever. But I don't know. I actually like the Amazing Spider-Man series. I won't say it's the best one, but I really felt like that was the first Peter Parker with like a little bit of fun. I like the soundtrack. Alicia Keys killed it. But A Hill I Will Die On. Guess what happened to me today? I got my vote by mail ballot. The most controversial piece of material.
Yeah.
Are you doing that this year? Are you going to go to the polling place? Like, are you voting at all? Like, what's Lacretia doing?
Yeah, it's one of those that I'm not sure where my ballot's going. So I may just need to vote in person in November because I get a mail-in ballot every year, and we'll see. And I'm much more the people that it's like, guys, your local votes are really what counts. So that's really what will actually affect change, and to keep an eye on those. The presidential election, I'm more in the South Park camp on that. Douche, turd sandwich. Yeah,
I understand. James Lott Jr. says, give the Batman movie with the nipples. That actually movie was kind of weird, but I won't get into that. That Batman and Robin movie.
There were a few nipples in Forever, but Batman and Robin's were they really... My brother and I were obsessed with Batman's nipples as a kid, and that's the one celebrity who's ever hated me was Chris O'Donnell, because I insisted on asking him that in an NCISLA thing, because I knew he wasn't a very nice person to interview either. So I'm like, look, I don't even care. I know it's going to go bad. So I'm just going to bring up nipples.
Yeah.
did you go to Taco Bell in that time when that movie came out, where they had the big, just life-size stickers on the doors of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
suit?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
here's the
were
deal.
obsessed.
Growing up, we didn't have enough. Well, my parents are homebodies, but we didn't really put movies in our budget. So I never go to the movies. So I went to
Oh,
like once or twice a year. So
that's
when I
horrible.
went, yeah, when I
Yeah.
went, every movie was a big deal. So I remember my birthday came up. It was in June. It had to be in June, obviously. I went and I saw Batman and Robin in theaters. But since I had gone to the theaters so infrequently, I thought it was the best movie ever. But it was only as an adult I was like, "What the hell was I on? Bat skates? Bat credit card? What?"
I remember Batman Forever gets a lot more hate than it's deserved. There are good parts of that movie. Batman and Robin is just terrible. And even as kids, we were there in the theater with our dad, and we're like, we're supposed to laugh, right? This is not Batman. Because of people who watched Batman and Robin probably had Batman the Animated Series and those great Tim Burton films before. So your Batman is a little bit darker, a little bit more interesting. There's a joke here or there. That's why Michael Keaton ruled as, a former stand-up comedian. But he's more of, not a cheeky Joker. We had the pun intended there with the Joker, but yeah, we had the Adam West Batman, but we understood that was funny too. And this was more like the Adam West Batman, only not as funny.
Right? You don't like puns? Like, this is why Superman works alone. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. No? Kick some ice. No? All right. Well, it was weird. At the time, I loved it. But yeah, it was weird. But then again, in the 90s, a few films I saw in theaters, like Set It Off and Space Jam and a Goofy movie, were all classics in their own right when I went.
Dude, a Goofy movie is legit one of the best Disney movies of all time. Me and my brother wore out our VHS copy there. Yeah. That soundtrack? Same with Space Jam. Kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember with Space Jam. I remember trying to memorize the Bugs Bunny song at the end. Yeah, you bugging. I thought I had rhymes like Bugs Bunny. So weird. I don't know why we got on a tangent there. Because James Lott Jr. was talking about bat nipples.
Yeah.
This guy. Shout out to Candace Mags in the house. What up, Candy Poe?
Yeah.
What up? The Prince soundtrack. I actually saw the music video for Gotham City back when R. Kelly wasn't a public creep a couple years ago. So, look, with all these movies being pushed back real quick, I mean, you got like the WandaVision on TV, Wonder Woman going on. Like, I mean, what is on your power rankings of things you want to see?
Yeah, I actually, WandaVision is one of those shows I'm pretty excited about. I do love Bucky, so the Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be great. But yeah, with WandaVision, it looks so fun. I love cheeky crap like that. That's why I say I enjoy Spider-Man 3 because it's a comedy to me. Or,
Wow.
yeah. I like the cheeky stuff. And as much as I'm not interested in Vision and Wanda as a couple, this seems interesting. Because, in the movies, it's a little weird. But, yeah, I'm interested in that. But definitely the paprika.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's such a bad scene. It really takes you out. But, yeah, Wonder Woman 1984, just, I mean, I love how they've been able to bring Chris Pine back into it. And Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. Come on. Like, it looks so good. Yeah.
Interesting choice to have Cheetah as the second villain and not something bigger or what have you.
Well, to me, Cheetah would be my first pick for a Wonder Woman villain.
Right.
Yeah.
But I felt like when the first one came and that wasn't the choice, I was like, I wonder if the same for a crossover or something like that. No idea. But there's so many movies that are just getting pushed back, and the James Bond movie. I mean, Tenet's out. It's just now, and that had a whole different muted opening. Will movies ever come back, you think?
Yes. I mean, how do I say this? I know some politicians have misspoke and have said, after the election. It's like, so a lot of this sadly is political in nature, as much as people don't want to say whether or not. So I do feel like that whatever happens, there will be some sense of normalcy come certainly January. And I know we've heard it from everything from the schools with Barbara Ferrer and other people that it may be Christmas it may be before next year, but yeah, anything that is after the election, I think is safe to come out, and we'll see, because that's just sadly the trajectory we're seeing. Because to me, I love going to the theater, but I've also grown accustomed to the face that is my television. So I don't mind renting movies that way. I was so excited for The Hunt. And then the weekend that it was supposed to come back out to the theaters, it had to go streaming online. And I was like happy because I wanted to stream it online long before, when it was canceled the year before. And to me, that movie is great. So, and it worked just fine because you can get a big screen TV for $300. Like, the movie theater experience is one thing, and for stuff like Star Wars, the big superhero films, James Bond, that would be one. Those things kind of work in the theater, but 90% of films are just fine at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand, and this is kind of a weird thing for a film student to say, or a film graduate to say. Is like, I understand if you're Chris Nolan and you said, oh, it has to be on celluloid, and I spent 4 hours to do this movie. But truthfully, I'm okay with the compromises on smaller and smaller screens and audio things if I get the story. The story strong enough, it doesn't quite matter to me if the story is good. But technically, I know when I saw Fast 5 and the scene where Vin Diesel and Paul Walker jumped off the train into the ravine on a commercial, I said, okay, I have to see the big theater. It makes sense. But like when they told me Wonder Woman's getting pushed back, it's like, I'm going to see it on the screen anyway. I'm not going to watch it once in theaters and be like, that was $30 well spent, and never try to see it again. I'm like, whatever. I want to give a question from Charlene. She says, thoughts on mask wearing? Do you think you wear one for an entire movie?
Oh, yeah. Like, here's the thing. I have this really thin Hannibal Lecter mask that I like to wear, that I got from Legion M. If they still have them on there, it's pretty cool. They're only like $15. You could
be an investor. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, they had a great Hannibal Lecter mask because I like it because I can wear it down here. So when I need to pull it up or wear it, it's very comfortable. And guess what, guys? Science says the mask help. So just do it. Like, it's one of those things that's not a hill you should die on, literally. If it says wear a mask, you have to come in here. It's just like the airport. Do we not have to take off our shoes at the airport? If we have to put on a mask, we have to put on a mask. It'll be okay. And guess what? I don't mind wearing it in the theater either. I mean, I sit there usually stoned out of my mind anyway, and you can just sip your cup, like, whatever.
Wear a mask.
Yeah.
I'm a little, I have a bit of trepidation for it because I am a minority, right? Walk into a store wearing a mask and sunglasses, I wonder if I'll be followed. But I understand that me getting shot down is a high probability, but me getting COVID is pretty higher. Let's talk about someone who got COVID this week. The President of the United States, man. Yeah. Big news. Can you believe that? I didn't think that was even possible, the way Homeboy was going. But now, much like in England and in Brazil, I had a state actually had the disease. Or has. I don't even know if it's past tense yet.
Well, and Justin Trudeau in Canada as well, his wife had come down with it. So it has made the rounds, as it will do. It is a pandemic, and especially if you don't follow the precautions, like wearing a mask, guess what? That might happen.
Yeah. I don't know how it is in Texas, but there's parts here in Los Angeles where people loaded up their trucks and Trump flags and drove around the neighborhood, wishing the president well, which I guess is kind of like a rain dance, because I'm not sure how that works across the nation. But like, this is a very cool, not a cool image, but a very interesting image about how when someone comes down with this disease or condition, there's many ways it can go. You can full-on recover, you can long-term recover, you can not recover, it can be fatal. But people already had assumptions of what was going on before it happened. I've never seen us be so cynical to be like, does he really have it? He's fine. He might die. Like, what was going on in our psyche, Lacretia? Help me out. What's wrong with America?
Well, as the person with the psychology degree, which is always funny because I typically have the most cynical response, but even though I'm pretty positive, I'm Mrs. Brightside, But how do I say this? People's response to it just made me upset with humanity. I was thinking about it today because I hadn't even really been tweeting over the weekend. Of course, you know, when the news first broke. I mean, the night before was the Melania tapes, which I thought would have a lot more play because I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be porn. And then it was really about her, you know, hating Christmas. So I put a picture of the Grinch and they're saying it's actual footage. Fine. You know, funny stuff. Then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, they both have COVID. Well, that sucks. I mean, they'll probably be fine because they have, you know, treatment. That's how I think. I'm like, yeah, they'll probably be fine. Maybe they'll learn a lesson. I don't know. I'm sadly a more positive person. But the way that I of course, joked, well, Trump's fine. Should be glad he's finally testing positively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I know. Yeah, he should be glad he's finally testing positively. But yeah, you know, we can joke about it when we assume people are fine. But I don't mind jokes. There's been a lot of really funny jokes in this, and as morbid as they may be, I mean, comedy is tragedy plus time. Agreed. So I don't necessarily mind when it's actually a good joke. But there were a lot of people that were just downright cruel. And I get that he downplayed this. I get all the big numbers, but I don't get, to me, I've always said when people go low, we get high. You know? Yeah.
According to local jurisdictions, if you can get high.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this as a comedian and a psychologist.
Yeah.
What's the word?
I have a master's degree, so I'm not actually a psychologist, but I'm a
practitioner.
I don't know.
Of science of psychology.
A pop psychology expert. We'll go with that.
It's kind of a bipartisan question.
Yeah.
I don't grow up. I live in a two-party household. My mom is incredibly liberal. My dad is a registered Republican. It seems on both sides that we have changed as people. First of all, we're a lot more offended. We want more things changed. Things used to be simpler. Is this a fallacy? Has everything been as tough as it is and we're just not realizing it? Or has the world really changed or decreased in quality from the past 4 to 8 years?
I'm so glad that you're a person like me who had to grow up with people you love on opposite sides, because it does make you understand the insanity a little bit more and actually have empathy. Not all the people that say they have empathy, but then say the worst shit ever. Oh, wait, can I cuss on here? Oh, it is after hours.
You can now. Yeah.
Whoops. But yeah, because my dad was super liberal, and I grew up in literally the Bible Belt. They're not just where do you go to church, but where do you go to church sort of place. And he was a strip club DJ. And then my very conservative grandparents and things like that. So I grew up understanding the bad side of the left and then the bad side of the right with something. But guess what? Most people or it used to be, or somewhere here, and the little things over here and a little thing over here, and we just want to be rational people who go on. Because luckily, my mom never gave a shit. As I say again, how many? What is this? FX?
You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
But yeah, and that's sort of the sad part is I see so many people, and you see their response on both sides, you know. And you're like, wow, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? I know that Dr. Drew has labeled this Trump derangement syndrome, and it's perfect because it kind of is, because it's either side to me. It's like you're either deranged enough to think he is helping you, or you're deranged enough to think he is literally the worst thing to happen when he doesn't even really run stuff. I mean, do we not understand the checks and balances of the branches of government? I thought we learned that in high school, and I dropped out of high school. People, like, what were you doing?
Before I go, let me get one lesson. All right, let me get one lesson. I'm peacing out. Yeah, it's an odd thing because everyone's kind of upset what's going on. You know, whatever happens in November, we want to make sure. I think we're kind of at a crossroads, and this November, no matter who you vote for, is basically telling you where you think the country should go or will go. And that's why I wonder if it's like, has things gotten that bad? The world is laughing at us, kind of a thing. Or, hey, look, we're now in the post-social media world. We can get to any echo chamber, talk about how weird those people are over there, and that's the reason why they're a problem, and then nothing gets solved. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's one of those where I hope Biden wins because I don't want to deal with 4 more years of this, is where I'm at, but not in a way of like, I think that either choice is good or bad at this point. It's just more the way that people have behaved during these 4 years and just to each other. And I'm like, look, if we can just get this other guy in office and people will be civil to each other again, great. But I'm afraid that's not going to happen because we've already seen it. The feeding frenzy that is the cancel culture. You know, I mentioned Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. Yeah. These people are more in my side, the middle. I wouldn't even say it's a side. We're just rational. Right. I'm glad more people are speaking up that way, where it's like, look, like we're all for not having these big problems, but guys, we've got to be civil to one another. We can't. It's not anarchy.
It's not going to happen, and it's sad to say because my name's Lobito and I do fun stuff. I do comedy and I talk about professional wrestling of guys and girls in tights every week. But like you look at something what happened this past June with the protests and statements and. Shove and dribble the ball, LeBron, and this is from one angle of things. And there's some people out there that, in their idea of American history, we were racist at one point. MLK woke up one day and made one speech. Racism was done, and we all lived happily ever after till about 3 years ago when Obama was in office. And it's not true, but I mean it's been pushed to the forefront now. So I do think there's a point of time where it's beyond the pale. No matter who's in office, we have to answer questions, we have to reconcile with some things. I know I'm being a woke brother here, I apologize. But I'm just saying, maybe the election may not have the effect we're looking for. But I just want a president that wants to rebuild our bridges and tunnels. Is that the issue I want? What does Flobo want?
I'm glad that you were a bridges and tunnels guy, because that's what we have to get back to, the brick and mortar of it all. And if we don't get to the tactical stuff, we have too much stuff that, the problem is money's become invisible. I mean, I basically sound like the Adam Carolla show, but whatever. But
invisible, man.
Yeah, or Joe Rogan with the meme. But yeah, people like them, and people are gravitating more and more to them because we're finding so many more people want to get back to that. And this was what I was kind of hoping came out of the pandemic, because so many of us are having to become self-reliant because stuff's not open and we have to figure that out. So maybe people will, the more you work with your hands, whether it's the bridges and tunnels or whether it's just crafting, just something where you understand the way that things work, maybe people will get off Twitter and quit giving opinions about things they don't even understand.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of things I don't understand and shifting gears, I don't know if you heard this today. Reggaeton star J Balvin's getting his own meal at McDonald's. Sound the alarm. Forget elections. How are people getting collabs with Mickey D's? And how come I don't have a collab? Lacretia, help me out here. I want a collab.
I know, and I hate to say it because the first restaurant that came to my mind to have a collab with is ChickFilA. And I'm like, I know the bad press aside, that much like In-N-Out, they do pay their people well and most people enjoy it, but their chicken is good, folks. But yeah, so maybe we get a collab with ChickFilA because it's much better for you than McDonald's, right?
How you going to collab with someone 6 days a week? I'll haunt you Monday.
Yeah, I will say, like, during the Stanley Cup Finals, or on a Sunday, or no, it was the Western Conference Finals before. Sorry, hockey, and I know I've lost half the audience as I do on Twitter when I talk hockey. But there was
Go Islanders, yo.
But there was a ChickFilA commercial on a Sunday, and I was like, it's cruel enough that they're having to play in Canada, and there's a ChickFilA commercial on a Sunday. What are we gonna do? Do a Visit Canada commercial next? Like, we can't do any of these things.
Right. I always crave it on Sundays. And look, if you have to boycott ChickFilA, I understand. Like it's one of those, because I went to school in the South. I went to school in Florida for 4 years. I understand if you have to boycott it. I boycott Burger King, for example. But like, I don't understand like going after people who still partake. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. It's like, choice. I can't believe you do that. Like, if you want to not put your money elsewhere, but how do you tell someone else they can't put their money somewhere? Like, that to me blows my mind.
Especially considering everyone who's ever told me that I was wrong for still eating at ChickFilA buys the shit out of Disney products. So that's 3. Like, they literally throw their money. If Disney had a toilet paper, they'd buy it. So, oh my God. Yeah, that's right. Disney, who treats their employees like crap. I cleaned it up there. And Disney, who has a history of racism, homophobia, all sorts of stuff. Now, have they gotten better in recent years? On one hand of it, but obviously
Yeah.
not the employees down here. But ChickFilA pays their employees several dollars above minimum wage, sends
Yeah.
them to college, and all that. So you can get on your ChickFilA soapbox all you want, but I better not see a Disney product anywhere near you if you're going to judge me. Now, if you just don't say anything, fine. Because guess what? That's your choice. That's my choice. That's fine. I'm more a libertarian and all that. But,
Right.
if you're going to say something, you better back it up.
I'm just going to say we're back to Mickey D's. I'm the same way. Is McDonald's the healthiest restaurant? No. But I always wonder, no one, it never closes. It's never empty, right?
Yeah.
I grew up working class. I was even a poor college kid. Too many nights have been saved on them golden arches for me to be all like hoot toot now. But I wonder if I ever got a chance to have a meal at a restaurant out or a burger joint, definitely Carl's Jr. Hardee's. That's my jam. I will go to Carl's Jr. every day of the week if it was 0 calories. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's kind of interesting now that McDonald's a big, like, stuffy restaurant's now trying to be cool with the kids, but how that Travis Scott and J Balvin for custom meals, you know?
Yeah, that's what shows we've really had some problems. And that's why everyone was, trending on Twitter with who hasn't eaten in a restaurant since March and raising their hand. I'm like, guys, again, this is your choice. And if you don't feel safe, don't go. But you shouldn't be proud of that because guess what? These people need these jobs. They need the work. That's why they're there. And these restaurants have gone out of their way to take all these safety precautions. Shouldn't they, A, be rewarded for that? And B, people should be allowed to choose that if they want. They're taking the risk. But wear a mask, go into these, just as all the employees are wearing a mask. And they sanitize everything. And, from McDonald's and beyond, we kind of have to keep these going because guess what? Those people need the work. I mean, especially the people that work off tips. So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of how I look at it. And so good. That shows that McDonald's is struggling. Everybody's struggling.
Real quick question. If you were going to sell out, what would you do? Besides food. Like, if you would put your name, picture, your smile next to something, what would you sell out for?
Oh, sell out like that. I was like, I'd sell out Madison Square Garden. No,
No, man.
yeah. I, as I said earlier, definitely Chick-fil-A. I'm a big fan of. I don't really use like a lot of products like per se. I'm definitely a food person or booze, like definitely. Because what's always funny is Frank Sinatra promoted Chivas, the scotch, but he hated it. So always underneath it was always Jack Daniels. So I might pull like a Sinatra move because say like I'm more. I mean, and they would never need me because it's Ryan Reynolds. So I'm not going to use a gin example, even though I'm more of a gin person. But yeah, so like I like Jameson Black Barrel. But say if another Irish whiskey was like, oh yeah, we'll do this. Okay, I don't care. I'll promote whatever. I mean, my job for most of my life was a promotional model and brand ambassador for like Toyota and Panasonic, lots of tech brands. Shit, I don't care about.
Yeah. So if Conor McGregor is like Papa number 12, you're the new spokesperson. You're like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, like most of my job was I did all the Campari America brands and I learned to love American honey. And that's one of the ones that I was really true to. I'm like, no, guys, the other honey whiskeys are terrible. This one really is. So I guess that was a good example of me working my brand. But some of the, like Midori, that's crap. I mean, Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out now because you want to sell out for the job you want, right? So I'm trying to figure out now on Instagram, like, what low-level product segment do I want to sell out to now to get the bigger one later? It's something I haven't figured out. Lacretia, I want to thank you so much for coming on this edition of What's Up Flobo After Hours. Our time is almost up. But do me a favor and tell the world where they can find all your stuff online.
Well, since I'm Lacretia Lyon, guys, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet since there is only one.
That's cool. That's branding. That is branding. You know me, man. It's your boy Flo Pete. So here's the deal. You can support the show in multiple ways. Make sure you share it, like it, tell a friend about it. You can join the Boisterous crew over at patreon.com/Flobo Boyce and get bonus content. Bonus articles and videos and all that. And also you can buy a t-shirt, a mask, or a sweatshirt over at flobito.threadless.com. It's about high time to get out of here. Until next time, peace out, y'all.
The baddest in the land.